What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Pitching Ninja's Filthiest Pitches of the Day. Remember, before we get to those pitches, hit that subscribe button. Be a part of the biggest and best daily baseball show on YouTube. And now, without further ado, here are my filthiest pitches of the day. I'm going to start with Drew Smiley, who had 5 Ks in 3 2/3 innings, giving up 3 runs. He had these fastballs and knuckle curves, as well as this gorgeous auto K. You can tell that home plate umpire Jeremy Riggs was itching to ring the hitter up here, kind of looking like a shark ready to strike. And boy, did he ever. A vicious auto K. Here's an overlay of Drew Smiley's elevated fastball with his knuckle curve, so you can see why you would take a knuckle curve that ends up in the zone. You give up on that pitch because you think it's that elevated fastball that you just took, but instead, it drops into the strike zone. Smiley faced Julio Teheran, who had this curveball, fastball, and painted fastball, and had 7 Ks in 6 innings, gave up 6 runs. Now, of course, giving up 6 runs isn't optimal, but he gave up those 6 runs in the first 3 innings, and then shut the Cubs down, giving Milwaukee the chance to come back. And he saved the bullpen. So, good effort by Teheran, despite those 6 runs. Jake Irvin had 3 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had this fastball and curveball. And he faced Luke Weaver, who had 2 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 2 runs, and had this elevated fastball. Tyler Wells had 4 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 2 runs, and had these fastballs and changeups. Again, I consider Wells on my list of underrated pitchers. His ERA this year is 3.19. He faced Domingo Germán, who wasn't perfect in this game, but had these curveballs, including this back foot curveball, and had 5 Ks in 4 1/3 innings, giving up 2 earned runs. NL All-Star pitcher Bryce Elder only had 1 K in 6 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs, and that 1 K was on this fastball, kind of right down the dick. Sometimes location doesn't matter all that much. He faced Gavin Williams, who had 2 Ks in 6 1/3 innings, giving up 4 runs, and had this 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Again, giving up 4 runs to the Braves offense, that's basically a shutout on the Ninja pitching grading curve. Braxton Garrett had 6 Ks in 5 2/3 innings, giving up 3 earned runs, and had this back foot slider as well as these wicked curveballs. Garrett's stuff has been nasty this year. He's averaging 10 Ks per 9 innings and has a 6.5 K to walk ratio. He battled Miles Michaelis, who had 2 Ks in 6 1/3 innings, giving up 4 runs, and had this slider for a sword, as well as a slider for a strike him out, throw him out, double play. Christian Javier had 4 Ks in 4 1/3 innings, but gave up 8 runs. Yikes. He did have this fastball and dirty knuckle curve. Michael Grove had 3 Ks in 4 innings, giving up only 1 run, and had this fastball and wicked slider. He faced Mitch Keller, who had 7 Ks in 5 innings, but gave up 4 earned runs. Keller had this changeup, as well as these overpowering fastballs, and 2-seamers, including this backdoor 2-seamer and elevated 2-seamer. He also had this sweeper for a sword. And this overlay basically shows you the anatomy of getting a sword. He throws this 2-seamer that breaks 17 inches to the plate, and then throws a sweeper that breaks 17 inches away from the plate. And these pitches crisscross on the way to the plate. As a hitter, if you're thinking you're getting another fastball or 2-seamer and you get that sweeper, you're going to start your swing early, try to check it when you finally realize it's a sweeper, and it's going to be too late. Joe Ryan had a nice outing, going 6 innings with 9 Ks, giving up 2 runs. The Royals knew they were in for a long day when Joe Ryan summoned his attack eagle before the first pitch. Since this was July 3rd, and the next day is July 4th, I thought this was an amazing tribute to our nation. Okay, maybe he was just stretching. He then unleashed a slew of fastballs, sweepers, and splitters, picking up those 9 Ks. And here's an overlay that shows you why a splitter and an elevated fastball are a really good combination. You see Ryan throws a splitter, gets the glove point from his catcher, saying, "Good pitch." Why was it a good pitch? Because it set up the elevated fastball as the very next pitch. A hitter's used to seeing the ball down. He throws a fastball pretty much in that same tunnel, but instead of dropping, it keeps its plane, and he gets the whiff. Really good tunneling and sequencing. Ryan faced Austin Cox, who had 4 Ks in 4 2/3 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had these fastballs. Blake Snell had 7 Ks in 5 scoreless innings. His fastballs were up to 98 miles an hour. And he mixed in some wicked changeups, curveballs, as well as sliders. Snell has been on quite the roll recently. He's only allowed 3 runs in his last 8 starts, lowering his ERA from 4.5 to 3.03 now. But yet he's still plus 2,300 in the Cy Young race. Odds courtesy of FanDuel Sportsbook. Snell might be pitching better than any pitcher in the NL right now, and has got to be a dark horse for the Cy Young, right? Here's an overlay of Snell's fastball and slider, and you can see why he's been on such a roll. When he's going right, those pitches tunnel really well, and with his high release point, it's very tough to pick up the difference between these two pitches until it's too late. Snell faced Jaime Barria, who had 5 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 4 runs, and had these sliders and painted slider. Bryan Woo had 7 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 2 runs. He had these fastballs, including this Expelliarmus fastball. The bat goes, whee! But all the rest of us channel our inner Ric Flair and go, woo! He also had this cutter and slider for a sword. And that filthy off-speed, as well as his overpowering fastball, shows why, as Pop Smoke would say, R.I.P., we all F with the woo. He faced yesterday's filthiest starting pitcher, Logan Webb, who had 11 Ks in 6 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs. Webb started out the game with this sequence. Can I help you, Mr. Crawford? No thanks, I'm just looking. And really dominated with his mix of sinkers, sliders, and wicked changeups. All of those pitches were filthy, and he picked up a backwards K on this slider. Here's an overlay of Webb's changeup and fastball, and you can see how that changeup disappears while that fastball continues kind of to rise out of the zone. One of many reasons Logan Webb has been so good. Now onto my filthiest relievers. A.J. Puck had this backdoor sweeper. Aroldis Chapman had this 100-mile-an-hour gas. Zay Curry had this pretty curveball. Tanner Scott had these wicked sliders. Devin Williams had this absolutely painted fastball. I mean, maybe one seam touched the zone, but that's all you need. Any part of the baseball touches any part of the zone, and it's a strike. And again, a little hint for you. If it's a solid dot as opposed to an open circle, that means the ball caught the robo-zone. Ryan Presley had this painted fastball. Clay Holmes had this sweeper and elevated sinker for a sword. Josh Hader had this nasty slider. Raisel Iglesias had this filthy changeup. Tommy Kahnle had this dirty changeup. Andres Munoz had this White Castle special. Yes, that's 3 disgusting sliders in a row for a K. As well as this overpowering 98-mile-an-hour fastball. Dowry Moreta had this wrong way slider that went 8 inches the wrong way. It broke arm side instead of glove side, and he does this regularly. And my filthiest reliever of the day yesterday was Tom Cosgrove, who had this slider that had 20 inches of break, getting Shohei to flail at it. Here's an overlay of that slider with his fastball. And you can see how those pitches look fairly similar. Shohei starts his swing thinking it's going to be a fastball, but instead it's a slider with 20 inches of break, and Shohei runs out of bat. A filthy, filthy pitch.
That's right, welcome back to a special 4th of July edition of Dong of the Week, the part of the show that pitchers turn off and discuss. We're going to kick it off here with Sean Murphy, who absolutely unleashes on this 459-foot Irish car bomb. Acuna here showing off his patented Dong goggles. Next, we're going to slide over to Oakland for a classic off-the-wall Donaldson pimp job. Although this one makes it past the wall and actually goes 472. Didn't know Donaldson still had that power in him, but he certainly did. But as if there was ever any doubt, the Dong of the Week goes to the god of sport himself, Shohei Ohtani, for the Dong of the Year so far, 493 feet. He also put this one 454. I think we should check this man's bat for titanium. Shohei on another planet, and that's your Dong.
And now, my Pitching Ninja moment of zen. You might remember yesterday I talked about the concept of rally face plants. Well, here's the ball boy trying to do one on this foul ball off Logan Webb. He did stop the ball, but I wouldn't call this a Webb gem. Nor did the rally face plant work. because the Giants lost, but I do appreciate the effort. What's up, everybody? My picks of the day today are a 3-leg parlay. I'm going to start out with Jesus Luzardo for 7 Ks or more, then take Logan Gilbert for over 5.5 Ks, and top it off with Shohei Ohtani for 8 Ks or more. What would your picks of the day be?